Okay, welcome everybody. So let's get started. You can come to your mat and I'm going to start in a seat today. And you're welcome to join me in a seat, or you can start laying down if you prefer, just sort of whatever shape works for you. We'll do a little centering, grounding before we start moving. And if you are seated with me, you might want to sit on a little piece of support. And settle in. So you can take some breaths. If there's some movement or fidgeting that you need immediately, just go ahead and allow that. And this is our first live class back in the new year. So happy to be here. And I think this is a nice opportunity just to really check in with how our bodies are doing. Holidays are interesting. We're out of our routines. Sometimes that's really nice. Sometimes it's really stressful. It can be a lot. And I know this has been a season for, illnesses and things like that. There's been a lot going around. And I think the other thing that tends to happen around the new year is we get this idea of like, okay, new year, new me, like, let's go for it and do all the things. But the general environment isn't really supportive of that because it's still quite dark. It's still quite cold. It's a good time for like intending or imagining or dreaming, but not so much all about doing. So it's a good time to be sort of checking in and just feeling. So I'm going to invite you to do that. Your eyes are probably already closed. You could put a hand on your heart, or maybe a hand on your heart, hand on your belly. And I'm just going to invite you to take some time to just acknowledge the what is of your body, whatever it's been going through, however you're feeling right now. And whatever that is, just take a few moments to listen to it, to let your body tell you something about how you're feeling and what's been happening for you, and maybe what you need right now. And of all these things that you're experiencing, whatever it is, see if you can take a moment to find an intention. And maybe you're working with New Year's intentions. Maybe it's just an intention for your practice today or this particular moment or whatever. And see if you can kind of distill it down to a word or a phrase, something that you want to kind of keep with you from this moment of just checking in and feeling. And the word that I am hearing is patience, is letting things take the time they take. Okay. So you can keep your eyes closed if they're closed and that's comfortable. And I'm going to invite you to start with some intuitive movement. And if you're not quite sure what that means or what to do with that, you can do a simple seated cat and cow, just inhaling into a little back bend shape and exhaling to round. But there are lots of ways to do this, especially as you are checking in. You might find that you want to roll your shoulders or your neck, or shift from side to side or make circles or come out of a seat and do a totally different pose. So one of the nicest ways to do the intuitive movement is just to focus on your breath and kind of let your body follow, and just don't worry so much about what it does. Just kind of trusting that your body knows what to do. And again, if that feels sort of weird and uncomfortable, feel free to just take your seated cat and cow, just nice and simple. And keeping in mind that the name and the general intention of this practice is feel good yoga. So we're here to learn about what it means to feel good in our bodies. And part of that is just experimenting, trying things and seeing how the body responds to it. Learning what a feeling good response is like and what a no, not so good feeling response is like. And I'm just going to kind of intend myself towards hands and knees. You might already be there. And we can continue the cat and cow movements on hands and knees. And just feel free to kind of adjust that as needed. Moving side to side, making circles. And some of you might be feeling like a downward dog sounds like a good idea. So you could tuck your toes under, press your hips back and up, and just see how that feels today. Maybe bending one knee at a time. And let's eventually make our way onto our bellies. And if you're not on your belly today, you can be in a seat and just do most of the work with the arms from a seat. And if you are in your belly, just take a moment to soften there, to come towards stillness and just kind of receive the support of the earth beneath you. And then let's try some cobras. So there are a few different ways to do this. My shoulder is a little unhappy today, so I'm going to take a classic cobra with my hands beside my ribs. But you could do your hands a little farther forward. I know some of you like strange cobra. Pointing the toes, lifting the knees, pressing the tops of the feet and the pubic bone down. Hug the shoulder blades together and gently lift the heart as you inhale. And we can just do that with the breath a couple of times. So just coming down, rolling the shoulders back, shoulder blades together as if you were holding a pen between your shoulder blades. Activating the back line, gently coming down. A couple more like that. And then next time you come up, if it works for you, let's just hold there for a moment. And in this classic cobra, there's little to no weight on the hands. It's more about the shoulders drawing back and the chest lifting. And if anything, I'm actually pressing the floor just slightly forward to help draw my shoulders back more. And then gently release down. You can take a rest, maybe hands beside your body, cheek, forehead, or chin to the earth. And again, just receiving the support of the ground, maybe wobbling your hips from side to side if you like. Okay, and then from here, let's take the hands and interlace them around behind the back. You could also use a strap here or hook your thumbs if that's more comfortable. Again, press the tops of the feet down, pubic bone down, hug those shoulder blades together. Gently lift and extend your arms back, opening the chest. Long through the back of the neck. And if you'd like, you can lift your feet up as well. You might notice I've separated my hands. My shoulder isn't into that right at the moment. I thought it would like it, but no, not so much. Not feeling good for me. So I'm just going to separate the hands. And then rest. You can take your opposite cheek or forehead or chin down, relaxing the bum, maybe wobbling or maybe just being still. Letting your belly really press into the earth. And then when you're ready, we'll roll over to one side. So I'm on my right side here. The knees are a little bit bent and pointing down towards, not straight forward in front of you, but a little bit down. So not quite a 90-degree angle with the legs. Want to have a little natural curve in the lower back. And I'm supporting my head in my hand, but you could also have your head resting on your arm or on one of your yoga props. Okay, we'll just start nice and simple here, flaring the toes, gently engaging the core, and we'll do a little clamshell. So just opening the knees on the inhale and gently closing them on the exhale. And I find it helps me a lot with this one to think about the knee going a little bit forward and then up. And this is really simple movement. It's nothing too complicated. It can be a little uncomfortable sometimes because we're strengthening these hip muscles that don't always get strengthened. And that's very valuable because for me anyway, this goes a long way towards helping to prevent the issues that I tend to have in my sacrum SI joint. Let's just take one more. And then relax, and you can take your soft fist of your top hand and just gently pat out the outer hip. My shoulder's not going to let me do that, so I'm just going to rest for a moment. Okay, and then we'll do one more of these, nice and simple. You guys have, I think you've all done this with me before. So we'll extend the top leg out and flex the foot to begin. Gentle engagement through the core, and I've just got my top hand adding a little bit more support here. So the idea is to keep the hips still and just move from the leg. So the leg is going to go back and up, then it's going to come down and forward like a U shape, and then up again. Down, back, slightly behind the hip, and up. So it's a nice big U. Take your time. You can follow your breath here, inhaling as the leg goes up, exhaling as it transitions. And just be aware that the farther forward the leg comes, the more intense work this is going to be on your outer hip. So just kind of adjusting that for yourself to that place where you feel like there's some work, but you're not stressed. We don't need too many of these. You're probably already feeling the effectiveness as I am. And I'm going to do about one more. Ah, nice. And then rest. And you can take that soft fist and gently pad out the outer hip, if that's possible for you. Beautiful. And then let's stretch it out a little bit. So we're going to bring that top knee up sort of towards the armpit area. You can keep it like that, or hold the big toe with your, this is my left hand here, and just open it up a little bit more, getting into the hamstring and the groin. And then gently relax that. You can return the knees together, but then we're going to take that top foot behind us, hold onto the foot with the top hand, and work into the quadriceps. So the tailbone is drawing a little bit down, the foot and the hand are pressing into each other, a nice active glute. And I'm allowing my top shoulder to roll back to the degree that my shoulder is going to let me right now. So this can be a little bit of a chest opener too. Beautiful. Okay, let's let that go. You can give the leg a little bit of a shake. And then we'll roll onto our backs. And then that same leg that you've been working with, the top leg, so that's my left leg here, we're going to take thread the needle right away. So we're going to release that outer hip. So the ankle can come onto the thigh, pressing the knee back. If you're comfortable, you can gather the right leg in towards you. Keep your feet flexed, and you can rest here, or you can rock slightly from side to side, which will just give you kind of different areas of the hip to release. And then let's let that go. You can send the legs up to the sky and give them a little shake if that feels good. You could also have the feet on the floor and do windshield wipers from side to side. And then we're going to roll over to the second side. We're going to do that little sequence on the second side. So I'm just going to flip over. You can roll to your second side if you don't need to see what I'm doing. And I might need a little support from my shoulder so I can give you these examples of what this might look like. Let's see what my shoulder's okay with. Oh, that seems fine. Okay, so you can have your head resting on your arm as we had a moment ago, or you can do like this, prop under your shoulder and the arm just extended out. And then try to line up your hips. The knees are pointed just slightly down, gentle engagement through the core. And you can use your top hand if you like to help stabilize the hips. Flare the toes and we start our little clamshells. So just inhaling to open, exhaling to close. And again, if it helps, thinking about the knee going a little forward and up, because my tendency is to lean back a bit and then I kind of lose the actual engagement through the outer hip. Just gently following the breath. This is a nice simple one. Really effective though, very useful. About 2 more. Beautiful, and then rest. And again, you can take that soft fist and just gently pat out the outer hip. And then we'll take that little U shape. So you can bring your top hand in front of you. Do you want just a little bit of engagement through your core, extending that top leg, flex the foot, and then the heel can go back and up, down, forward, any amount, and then up. So the furthest forward you would go is pretty much perpendicular to your body. And the more forward you go, the more weight your leg is going to have to lift. So just check in with that for yourself. Don't feel like you have to go perpendicular. You don't to get the work here. If you're feeling it, you're doing it. Maybe just following the breath. Just waking up these outer hip muscles if it's been a few weeks since you've done them like me. And I'm going to go for about 1 more. And then we'll rest. And again, you can take that soft fist and gently pat out. And then let's work into the hip a little bit. So you can bring the knee up towards your armpit. You can flex the foot, hold onto the toes or the foot with your top hand and work on extending. Don't feel like you have to go straight. Beautiful. And then gently release that. Take the leg behind you, hold onto the foot and gently open up the quadriceps. So tailbone presses down a little bit, foot and hand press into each other, glute engages, and you can softly work that right shoulder back. Or top shoulder, whatever that is for you. Very nice. And then gently release and we can roll onto our backs and take that thread the needle. So that same leg that you've been working with, so that's my right leg here. Taking the ankle to the left thigh and then leaving it there, or you can draw the legs in if that works for you. Stillness is great here. Do keep the feet gently flexed. You can rock a little bit from side to side. That's going to give you a little bit of a different kind of release into the different areas of the hip. Awesome. When you're ready, let's release the legs. You can give them a little shake. And then we could take that into happy baby. So the knees are going to go towards the armpits, soles of the feet to the sky. And then you can hold on to whatever's accessible for you, the feet, the ankles, the outer hips. And some people like to rock a little bit from side to side in happy baby. Some people like to just be still. Nice little release for the groin. A lot of people like this for the lower back too. Okay, let's let that go. Again, you can shake the legs up to the sky if that feels good. And then let's place the feet on the floor and work with the core. I'm going to start really nice and gentle. I'll admit I haven't been doing that much core over the last little while. So I'm just going to say hello to it, nice and gentle. So we're going to start with the feet on the floor, hands on the belly. And take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, think of gathering your pelvic floor in and up and hugging your belly button towards your spine, kind of gathering everything in towards the midline without changing the arch of your lower back. Okay. Activate your feet and then you can slide your right leg out on the floor and then slide it back in again. It doesn't really matter too much here whether you're inhaling or exhaling as you go, but my urge would be to inhale as the leg goes straight and then exhale as I'm drawing it back in again. Just knowing that inhales tend to be kind of expanding movements and exhales tend to help contract the core. So as we're kind of drawing back in, it might feel good to work with that exhale. I've got bare feet on my mat, so I'm just ever so slightly lifting my foot so that it doesn't get stuck on the mat. If it's easier to do this in socks, you can do it in socks too. And I want you to think about, especially if your hands are on your belly, just continuing to draw that belly in and up so it doesn't start popping forward as you're working with your core. Okay, if this is feeling good, it's working for you, please feel free to keep going here. Okay, you can add on to it by interlacing your fingers around behind the back of your head and lifting your shoulder blades up. That's just going to add some more core muscles, okay? And then if you feel like you want to add more from there, what we can do is straighten a leg and then lift it up. Bend the knee and place the foot back down. Opposite leg goes straight. And then lift that whole leg up. And then place the foot down. And then just going side to side like that. Again, at this point, you're okay wherever you're inhaling and exhaling, just stay present with the breath and the belly drawing in and up so it's not popping forward. Sometimes that can be a little bit hard to feel, but you just really want to encourage the deeper core muscles to draw inward rather than popping forward. Good. And then let's try reversing directions and see how that feels. So you can lift up the leg, keep it straight, lower it down. It doesn't have to be all the way to the floor. And then gently bending the knee back in. Other side, the leg lifts up, straightens, the leg lowers, and then gathering it back in. You might find one is a little harder than the other. And again, whatever you're doing, just keep drawing that belly in and up. And if you need a break, take a break. Try to keep your jaw and your neck soft. And I'm going to take about one more round each side. And then rest. You can take the soles of the feet together, knees open wide, or return to happy baby, or let the knees fall together, feet wide. All of those are good options. And take a few moments to consciously relax your pelvic floor and your belly. Beautiful. Okay, from here, what I'd love for you to do is return to your belly if you can. So you're just coming right back over onto your belly, and then take a back bend of your choice. So you could do that same cobra that we were doing. You could come up onto your elbows in a sphinx pose, even upward dog if that one works for you. And just think of really long through the legs, long through the belly, gently stretching out the core. Shoulders down the back, whatever variation you're taking. I'm in sphinx pose. You can certainly follow me. Beautiful. And then come down and find child's pose. So pressing into your hands, knees can be as wide as you like, toes together, sinking your hips back, forehead to the earth. Elbows could be bent. You could rest your forehead on your stacked palms. Some people like sometimes the hands beside the hips. That can be nice. Breathing into your back body. And let's take this into a little bit of a side stretch. So you're more than welcome to stay where you are if that's working for you, or walk your hands over towards the right, reaching out through the left hand and drawing the left hip a little bit back. Breathing along that left side of your back. And then when you're ready, over to the other side, gently lifting up, walking your hands over to the left. Right arm reaches out and draw that right hip back a bit. And breathing into the right side. When you're ready, we can return through center. Let's take a nice deep breath just in child's pose. And then we'll make our way through hands and knees or downward dog if you can do downward dog today. So you can walk the hands forward, tuck the toes, lift the bum into downward dog. If you're staying in hands and knees, maybe you're just extending one leg back at a time. We don't have to be here too long, just kind of checking it out. And then when you feel ready, walk the feet towards the hands, coming into standing forward bend near the top of your mat. And you could do that in a few different ways. Elbows on bent knees is nice, hanging down can be nice. Fingertips on the floor or blocks can work too. And you can be in some movement here. So sometimes it's nice to bend one knee at a time or sway. If you're feeling stillness, stillness is great. And then go ahead and roll up. You can bend your knees deeply, lean back into your heels and curl to standing. If that doesn't work for you, feel free to come up with a nice flat spine. And when you get to the top in Tadasana, just taking a moment to settle your heels underneath your hips, soften your knees. Find your hips kind of resting comfortably in the earth. Your tailbone not tucked, but not flared either, just kind of neutral. Shoulders relaxed, chin parallel to the earth, rather. Okay, so let's take some half sun salutations. And with my shoulder as it is, I may need to modify this in a bit of a funky way. So I know a lot of you guys know this one, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. So as you inhale, you can reach your arms wide and up to the sky. And as you exhale, folding forward over your legs. Taking a halfway lift, heart forward. And then exhale and gently fold to the earth. Bend the knees, look forward, rising all the way up. And bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Okay, so that's half sun salutation. And I'm going to do something else. And if you have some reasons half sun salutation isn't working for you, feel free to do this with me instead. I'm taking my feet a little bit wide, inhaling, shoulders back, chins lifted, exhaling, folding down, and drawing in the belly and inhaling to rise. So it's not so much that I want you to do any particular movement. I just want you to kind of massage the breath through your body, thinking inhale up, exhale down, in whatever way works best for you right now. Good. Take your time. Eventually collecting yourself back to standing and just taking a few moments to receive that. Lovely. Okay, so let's come and stand at the top of the mat if you're not there already. You can inhale, reaching your arms up like we just did. Exhale, folding forward over your legs. Take a halfway lift, and this time we'll step the right foot back. You can take a high or a low lunge. I'm going to do a low lunge. Feel free to pad your knee if you need to. And reach your arms up to the sky. Just my right arm is going to go up right now. Gently draw the tailbone down, press the hips forward and get nice and long through the sides of the waist. And if it's comfortable and you want to add a little bit of a side stretch, you could reach your right arm to the left, so away from your back leg. Think tailbone down, pressing into the earth with that back foot. And I'm hoping that you'll feel a nice hip flexor stretch there, along with the side stretch, shoulder release. And then come up through center. Let's straighten that front leg. You can bring the hands down to either side of the front foot onto blocks or the floor. And let's keep moving with the breath if it's working for you. So as you inhale, you're just lengthening the heart forward. And as you exhale, you're dipping in a little bit. Don't worry too much about what that looks like, but I want you to imagine that the movement goes all the way from your tailbone through the crown of your head. It's your whole spine, not just your neck. And if stillness is serving you better, work there, that's fine. And flexed left foot, drawing that hip back a bit. Beautiful. Okay, and then when you're ready, bend into your front leg and just walk it a little bit out to the left and let it point off on a little bit of an angle to the left. Feel free to put your blocks underneath your hand, or if you have a bolster like this, you could use it. And then just let your hips come forward. I've untucked my back toes here. I'm going to keep them that way. And you might need to lengthen your stance if your knee is going ahead of your ankle. You can work here. This is lovely. You can come down to your elbows if you want. You can also pick up your left foot and angle it so that the knee opens to the left. And that's just going to give you a bit of a different hip opening. And breathe there. Nice. And then we'll gently ease up so you can come back to your hands, straighten out the leg a little bit, walk it back into the midline, and let's carefully step to the top of the mat. Take a halfway lift, exhale to fold, bend your knees, rising all the way up. Hands to your heart, take a moment. And then let's do that on the second side. So reaching your arms up again and folding down. Halfway lift and step your left foot back. So we're coming into a lunge at first. I'm in a low lunge. You could have your knee lifted or you could pad your knee as well. And then reach your arms up to the sky. My left arm doesn't want to go up right now, so I'm just up with my right. Drawing the tailbone down, hips gently forward, glutes strong, back leg nice and strong. And again, I'm hoping you're feeling that sort of stretch on the front of the thigh. And you can add a little bit of a side stretch to the right away from your back leg if that feels good. And if I were doing the side bend with both of my arms, I'd be holding the left arm with my right hand. Let's come up through center and gently release the hands onto blocks or the floor and straighten out the front leg. And my knees were comfortable if I untuck the back toes there. Okay, and then working with the breath or just in stillness, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to melt. Or just breathing in stillness is fine. Right hip is drawing a little bit back, foot stays flexed. Then when you're ready, you can bend the leg and walk it out a couple of times to the right. So it's off on a little bit of an angle. And you can use blocks or bolster, whatever, underneath your hands if that's helpful, and let your hips come forward. And I am lengthening my stance a little bit because I want my knee to stay over my ankle. I don't want it to go beyond. Okay, back toes could be untucked if that's more comfortable. It doesn't matter too much here. It's going to be a little bit of a different effect. So try to do whatever you did on the first side. Letting the hips come forward. And then you can bring the elbows down. You can also angle the knee open a bit. So I've got the inner arch of the foot coming up away from the ground, and my ankle is still really nice and steady. I'm not sickling at my ankle, so it's not a knee stretch, it's into the hip. Beautiful. And then when that feels complete for you, you can gently draw the leg back in, heel toe the foot in a little closer. You might want to straighten the leg just briefly, and then gently step your feet to the top of your mat. Lengthen and fold. And then let's rise up. And if you're comfortable rolling up, go ahead and do that. Take a few breaths if you want to. Returning to Tadasana with your hands resting at your sides when you're ready, and just taking a few moments to receive and feel. Okay, and then let's take the feet a little bit wider apart, toes out, and we'll come down through a squat. So you can bring your hands together at your heart and begin to sink the hips. You might want to rest your elbows on your knees and just pause part of the way down. You can also support this in a few ways. So blocks or bolster under the bum or under the heels can be helpful. You can also sit right down if this is not serving your knees. If you're okay in the full squat, that's great. You can have your elbows to the inner thighs, hands to your heart. And just take a few nice deep breaths into this orientation for the hips. Nice. And then when you're ready, let's sit down if you're not already. So you can bring your bum down behind you and maybe take a few windshield wipers and shake out your legs as well. And we'll return just to a comfortable seat. I don't mind if you sit cross-legged or on your heels, whatever's more comfortable for you is fine. We'll just do a little bit of work in the upper body. So let's take the fingertips down beside the body, or you could hold opposite elbows around behind your back. Shoulder blades down the back, nice and long through the back of the neck. Gently draw your chin down towards your chest. And then slow as you want to go, rolling over to one side, just gently beginning to stretch out the side of the neck. Letting gravity do most of this so the neck and the head are really kind of relaxed and you're just rolling. You come to ear over the shoulder, or maybe even lean back a little bit and let your chin pull away from your throat. You get a little bit into the front of the neck. None of this should hurt. Okay, and then just as slowly and gently rolling back the way that you came. Chin to chest and just pause there. And we'll go over to the other side. Slowly, slowly, maybe leaning back a little bit. No pinching, no pain. And just as slowly returning back down the way you came. Pausing with your chin at your chest. And then gently rolling the head back up, center. You can softly look from side to side. Back through center, and you can take a couple rolls for your shoulders if that feels good. Beautiful. Okay, let's extend the legs forward and open. It doesn't have to be too open, and I'm kind of sliding to the front edge of my block. And then I'm going to bring one leg in. This is my right leg. I don't really mind which leg you start with. Okay. So we're in kind of this open, slightly bent position. And then you can take the same hand as your extended leg. So that's my left hand here. Foot is flexed along the leg, reaching up and over with the right arm, coming into a side stretch. You can hold the head here. You can reach the arm up. You can also keep the hand on the hip if that serves you better. Shoulders gently rolling back, maybe allowing the head to soften a bit. So you're getting this lovely side stretch, a little bit of a neck stretch. And then softly returning to center. You can keep your legs exactly as they are, but we're going to fold straight forward from here. So keeping that foot flexed, tipping from the hips, and just going as far as feels comfortable. It might not be very far, that's fine. Using your hands to support you and your breath. Beautiful. Okay, let's come up through center when you're ready. And a little bonus that you can add on here is you can place your right palm beside you. So that's the same leg as the bent knee. I'm not going to be able to do this with my left arm, but it would sweep forward and up over my ear as I'm pressing into the legs and coming into a little bit of a ballet pose. Okay, lifting the hips up. It's kind of like a gate pose as well. You don't have to hold that too long, just returning to your seat when you're ready. And then let's switch sides. So extending out the opposite leg, drawing in the other knee. And yeah, if you want to shake them or move them around before we go to the second side, that's great. Feel free to do that. Okay. And then taking your right hand along the right leg or whatever this straight leg is, and then reaching that other arm up over your ear, holding the head in your hand, or you could just have the hand on the hip and open this way. Just working into a little bit of a side stretch, thinking of turning your heart a bit to the sky. And then looking down and gently bringing yourself back up through center, and then your legs will stay the same, but will fold straight forward, bringing the hands in front of you, sort of tipping the pelvis back, and just folding to any degree. Make sure that your right toes are still pointing up to the sky, the straight leg, so they're not kind of going all over the place. And just folding to any degree. Lovely. And then we can gently roll back up. And finally, you can take that gate pose. So you can place your left hand or whatever the hand it is just behind you. I'm not going to put that pressure on this arm. I'm just going to do the movement with my right arm. So reaching forward and up, and you can press up onto your shin and onto the sole of your foot, coming into the gate pose if you did it on the other side. And I'm just kind of doing the parts that I can. Because yoga is always about what you can do, not what you can't. And then gently sitting your bum back down. Let's release the legs. You can send them out in front of you and give them a little shake or a little wobble. And I'd like to take one more forward bend here. There are a few different ones that have different effects that you can do. So if you have one in mind that you know that you like, please feel free to take that. Otherwise, we're going to just do Paschimottanasana, so straight-legged forward bend. If you know that you're pretty tight in the lower back and or hips, a bolster underneath the knees can be a game changer for this. You could also still be sitting up on your block, right up on it, or maybe you're sort of rolling off the edge of it, depending on you know, how your body works. I'm just sitting on the floor with it behind me. You can do this one feet together or feet hips distance. And I think I want to do hips distance today. It's just a little bit wider. Okay. Sitting up nice and tall, feet are flexed. Begin the hinge from the hips. It's okay to round your spine a little bit once you come down, but you want to think about the place you're going is heart beyond the feet. You're not trying to get your head to touch your knees. Okay. But you can allow the spine to round if you know that's safe for you in your lower back, if it feels good and safe right now. And if it feels better for you to keep your chest lifted, just keep it lifted. That's fine. Trust yourself and how you feel. So nice. Okay, when you feel ready, you can gently roll yourself back up again. And after that one, you can bend your knees, take your fingertips behind you and just hug your shoulder blades together on your back, lifting your heart. Some of you might want to lift the bum up as well. Again, with my shoulder, I'm not going to do that today, but what you would do is plant your palms behind you with the fingers. They could be pointing in or out, like to the sides. Shoulders on your back, and you can lift up your bum if you want to. I'm not going to do that today. And then let's come into a nice restorative heart opener. So if you have a bolster, awesome, you can take it around behind you. If you want a little bit more support because you have a sinus infection, or if you're pregnant, or your lower back is a little sensitive, you can elevate the top edge of your bolster so that you have a little bit more support there. I've lost my blocks. I think my 2-year-old took them somewhere, but I have this one. So I'm just going to put that one underneath my bolster. Thusly, I could also do it a little lower. You could sit on a low piece of support as well. Sometimes it's nice to do soles of the feet together, knees open wide here. Sometimes it's nice to just have straight legs. If you don't have a bolster, you can do pretty much anything behind your upper back. So a soft block, a pillow, a couch cushion, throw pillow, whatever you've got, folded blanket. Just allowing your heart to open up a little bit and your throat to open up a little bit as well. And then just take a few moments to kind of let your shoulders soften. I've got my arms just out at about 45 degrees. Hands could be on hips. You could have your arms wider apart if that feels good. And just come back to that quality of receiving your body exactly as it is today, and listening for whatever it might need from you. And we're going to transition from here into our Shavasana. So that could mean that you stay right here. If you're comfortable, just sort of rest right as you are. If you have a last pose or movement that you need before you can rest, feel free to take that. And if you're coming into your Shavasana, lots of ways to do that, just as comfortable as possible. Classically, you'd be laying on the ground on your back. And if you do have a bolster, a lot of people really do like that underneath the knees. If you have something like an eye pillow you want to cover your eyes with, feel free to do that too. And take a few minutes to rest. And take a moment to notice how you're feeling right now. And if there's anything else that your body is wanting to communicate to you right in this moment. And of course, if you have the time and you'd like to stay, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can begin to gently deepen your breath and bring some small movements into your toes and fingers. And gently beginning to awaken yourself from your Shavasana. Eventually, you can curl over onto one side and make your way up to a seat. You could bring your hands together at your heart or over top or wherever feels most right for you. And then gently bow your mind to your hands, just taking a moment to honor and acknowledge whatever it took for you to get here to your yoga practice. To honor and acknowledge the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our yoga. To honor and acknowledge the sacredness of the land that we practice on. Thank you for sharing that practice with me.